Welcome to this webcast on effective analytics made easy with IDEA. These webcasts are being brought to you by Automation Services, the USA provider of caseware IDEA data analysis software. Accounts payable are amounts owed to creditors for goods or services that are purchased during the normal course of conducting business. Accounts payable can be a significant and material because of a high volume of transactions and the size of the balances when compared to other items on the balance sheet. Completeness and cutoff are high-risk areas. Because the recording of transactions is manual intensive, accuracy is important, and accounts payable is generally regarded as a high risk of fraud area. You can see on my desktop I have an accounts payable file open. Looking at the IDEA desktop, you will notice that IDEA has a Manage Project focus. One of the first things to learn is how to add client source files. You'll notice there is a folder on the library view that's called Source Files. As you hover over it, right-click and it brings up the dialog box to Add File. Click on the Add File and you navigate to where you placed your client files. Select the ones you want and pull them over into your library. I've already added the files for this demonstration, so I'm just going to cancel out of here without adding any more files. You'll also notice that there are two views available under your library. Right now I'm in the library view, but I can just as easily switch over to the File Explorer view. Under the File Explorer view, you can see all the files that you've imported into IDEA to conduct your audit. There are a few things I do every time I open up a client data file for the first time. The first thing I do is I adjust my desktop so I get the best view of my data. You can see I'm lifting up the left side of the database and I can adjust it to whatever size I need to get the best view. As I'm dragging it, I'm overlaying the project files. I can maximize that by using the push-pull pin, and as I hover over the tab, it flies back open and I can reset it to whatever setting I want. I can do the same thing on the right side, overlaying the database properties panel, and again I can maximize it, and as I hover over it I can reset the push-pull pin. It's kind of important to know this because IDEA does remember the last setting that you had the last time you used it to conduct some work. The second thing I do is I want to make certain the database administrator gave me the data files that I need in the format that I need them to conduct my audit. To bring up the record layout, which is actually labeled the field manipulation panel, we can select any of the cells in the rows and columns of the database and we right-click on that cell to bring up the dialog box. Navigate down through the dialog box, you see field manipulation and select that, and it brings up the field manipulation dialog box. If you need help with anything in IDEA, if you need to brush up on how to do things, you have a help button in just about every dialog box. Click on the help, it brings up the HTML help, gives you a little explanation of what this does, and then a step-by-step guide through. We're just scanning down through here to see if any of our data fields that we need, if we got all the data fields and they're in the type of element that we need to do our work. If we want to change anything, we can easily double-click on the field name and change it. All that does is change the name of the field in the database or any output reports. The underlying data, of course, is not impacted. If we need to change the element type, we come to the right under type, we click on the element that's displayed and a drop down comes up showing us what the alternatives are, and we select the most appropriate one. I'm not going to make any changes, everything here is fine. I'm just going to cancel out of this without making changes. The third thing, and maybe many of you may think is the most important, is we want to validate our data back to our clients so that we make certain before we start doing audit work that we're in agreement that all the data that we were looking for was extracted, transmitted to us, and imported properly into IDEA. To get to that, I'm going to use the field statistics. It is over here on the right under the database properties. We click on it. IDEA is indicating that we did not generate the field statistics when we imported the file. By saying yes, we are invoking IDEA's built-in data mining capabilities. So we have the file open. You can see here that we have three views. We have numeric, date, and time. And since the data file that I have does not have a time element in it, it's blank as we would expect. So the numeric, we only have one field here displayed, but I scanned down through here looking for anything. You'll notice that some of the values are in a light blue, indicating that they are hyperlinked. I can drill down and see the underlying records. So that's numeric. Here's the date. IDEA generates this every time you pull a file in. It's giving you the earliest date, the latest date, common days, common month, input by month, and then input by day. Now I notice there's 5 records on a Sunday. Not really aware this client works on Sunday, so maybe I want to save this for discussions with the client. I just drilled down to the underlying records. In the lower right corner, I hit save. I give it a file name that will remind me when it shows up over here on the left side that I already have a file there. Get out of the field statistics and get back to your data. You come over here on the right side, back up on the database properties, and you select data. Let's take a look at the tests that we're going to do. So I'm going to start with the accounts payable file. So let me open that and close the other file. So the first test that we want to do is we want to look for any duplicate records in this open accounts payable file. To conduct a duplicate check, we come over to the analysis tab, which is where many of your audit features are. And you'll notice here that I have a duplicate key function. I select it. We want to do duplicate detection. We open up the dialog box. If you need help in using any of the functions, you can click on the help button. Here's an explanation of the duplicate key detection. Here's a step-by-step, and you can even navigate to some examples of where this is used. We want to look for duplicate payables, give it a file name again, so when it shows up on the left side we can recall what it is easily. In order to do the output duplicate records, though, we do need to set a key. Many times you're going to be doing assurance work, so you would talk to the accounts payable people to find out exactly how the duplicate detection works in their production application, and you may want to repeat that just to satisfy everybody that the feature is in fact in place and working properly. As we're going to show going through here, we can very easily change some of the criteria, and we may find that there are gaps in your existing system. Here I want to set my key fields to vendor number and invoice amount. Hit OK. Hit OK. Here I've selected just the duplicates. So you can see here by indexing over here, you can see the duplicates. And there's a sizable one right here, 32,000. If we want to change it up now, we can come back over to IDEA's rerun feature. It's not really a do-over, it's a rerun, and it recalls the last dialogue that we were on. So maybe we want to set a criteria, so we click on the criteria button, put our formula in here. All of our fields that we need to use are at the bottom here, so invoice amount. So let's say we wanted invoice amounts greater than 5,000. We check the syntax, it passes. We push it across the database by clicking on the green check. It's OK. We hit OK. Now we've filtered it down to just the records that are greater than 5,000. If we want to continue doing the rerun, we can hit the rerun. This time we can output the records without duplicates. We can clear our filter. So these are the non-duplicate payables. This time I'll give it a file name so it's unique when it shows up on the other side. Hit OK. These are the records that do not have a duplicate in the file. So that's the first test I wanted to show you. The second test I want to do is aging. So we can easily age these files. And let's get back to the parent file. close up the child files. And so now we're back into the accounts payable file that we started with. All the information is still in there. We've not extracted anything from this file. To do the aging, we can come up here to the aging function, select the dialog box. Again, if we need help, there's the help button. Everything pulls up, gives you a refresher. So in this case, these are old records, so we need to pick an aging back to the period of time that these records are applicable. So let me set that. We do want to age on the invoice date, but you can see you can drop down and get additional amounts. We do want to, the amount field to total is the invoice amount. We can change the interval from days to months to years. If the client uses a slightly different aging days, we can adjust each of the categories to match the clients. I do want to generate a summary key database, so I'm going to have to set a key for that. And in this case, I'm going to use the vendor name as the key. I can select other information under here, but I'm going to leave it as the vendor name. Hit OK. There's the summary. And this is made up data, so the categories are a little exaggerated. So that's the second test. The third test I want to show is how easy it is to use an @ function to calculate the number of days from the time a vendor is set up in the vendor master file until the time that we pay. I'm going to use two different files for this. I'm actually going to use some files that I have. This is all made up data. So here's the open payables in the reinsurance folder, and I'm going to need to pull in the information from the vendor master file. So I'm going to have to join this file with another file, and to do that I'm going to come over here to the join function. Again, there's the help if you need it. Because this file is open, it automatically becomes my primary database, and of course we do want to account for all of the open payables. We don't want to drop any. So I'll just select that right now, all records in primary. I need to join it though with another file, and I want to join it with the vendor master file where all of my vendor setups exist. Hit OK. So in order to do this, I'll give it a file name so when it pops up on the left side I can remember what it is. Join back reinsurance payable with vendor master. We need to match on at least one field. In this case I'm going to use the vendor name. You notice that the element type is character, and in the secondary I also need a vendor name. It's character as well. That's all it takes to join files with IDEA. You do not need to normalize the length of the data fields that you're matching. Hit OK. We've got everything set here. We hit OK, and IDEA pushes it across the database. So to the back now we have the vendor information. So if we want to calculate the number of days to set up, we need to append an audit work field in here. So we're going to bring back up our field manipulation. Let me open it up so you can see it. We want to use the append, so add a new field to the database. We're going to call that age days. I'm going to leave it virtual numeric in case I need to come back and correct the formula. That's what it takes to add a field. I now need to give it the parameter on how to populate that field. So you'll notice that all of your @ functions are over here. So I selected the all. They all drop down. I want the @ age, but you notice as I select it over here on the right, it gives you again a definition and how to use it. So date 1 is the first date, date 2 is the second date. To automatically put it into my formula, I just double click on it. It brings it over. All of my data fields are down here. So I need pay date. Double click it, pulls it up, comma, vendor create date. Again, I can start typing it. So there's my formula. I can check the syntax real quickly. It passes. I can push it across the database, hit OK. I now have a new field over here to the right. If I want to index it, some of these vendors we've been doing business with for a long time, but you see the top 3 are relatively new. So that completes the 3 tests I wanted to show you. I look forward to seeing you at future webcasts, so thank you for attending. If you would like our assistance with using IDEA to conduct these tests or any others, supported users can call the Automation Services Help Desk at 888-641-2800. We also want to remind you of our training opportunities, which are listed on our website at automation.com under Training. Thank you.